the ruling APC is determined to produce the leaders of the coming 10th Assembly. Well, it still has more members than any single party in both chambers of the legislature, but it has to rely on the other parties, particularly in the House of Reps, okay? Remember what played out in the 8th Assembly? Well, it looks like the party is up against a similar scenario. There are reports that the party and the president-elect have anointed candidates for Senate presidency and the speakership. But today saw a twist in that race for the Senate presidency. The Southeast Senate Caucus has now advised the president-elect Bola Tinubu to be conscious of what it described as the grave implications of zoning and endorsing a candidate for the position of Senate president from the South-South region without any regard for the Southeast. As they say, such move will serve as a recipe for injustice, which they say will culminate into restiveness. Well, this advice is contained in a communique read by Senator Ifeanyi Ubah after a meeting in Abuja. I'd like you to take a listen, then we'll take you back to something that played out earlier in the week and we'll have this conversation. But take a listen to Senator Ifeanyi Ubah.
With the sidelining of the Southeast from producing the presidential candidates of the major political parties before the general election, the only means through which the zone can be compensated and given a sense of belonging is for the zone to produce the next Senate president, as this will restore confidence to the people from the Southeast geopolitical zone. The APC must rise above primordial and political interest and shun the winner-take-all syndrome and pursue ethno-religious inclusivity and a strong, virile, united, progressive, prosperous, equitable, and just democratic nation. Mr. President-elect Mr. President-elect, how would an average Igbo man feel after seeing evidence of total discrimination? The Southeast have been denied the chance to produce the president of Nigeria since 1966. The South-South has produced president for 6 years and also had deputy Senate president in the outgoing administration. The only zone in the South that has not been favored is the Southeast. The outcry of marginalization of the Southeast and the entire Igbo should be addressed by the incoming administration rather than aggravating it.
So this is interesting because just some days ago, a senator-elect from the Southeast, that's Governor Dave Umahi of Ebonyi State, had actually stepped down for Senator Godswill Akpabio, who is from the South-South and said to be the anointed candidate of the party and the president-elect. So here's what Governor Dave Umahi said on Friday evening. We'll take a listen now. All right, we'll get that for you, okay? It's just a few buttons to press there. But if you take a look at that briefing from Senator Ifeanyi Ubah, you'd see that Senator Orji Okalu was there as well, who is also vying for that position. Part of the people who signed that communique includes Senator Osita Izinaso, who is also vying for that same position of the Senate president. So what exactly is going on? This has raised lots of questions. How well is this plan by the APC to have a consensus candidate? How well is it holding up? Well, let's speak tonight with one of the speakership hopefuls who has been reported to be the party's anointed candidate. Okay, let's get into the realm of things now and just help you understand what is going on. We're joined on the program tonight by a member representing Zaria Federal Constituency in Kaduna State. He is aspiring to be Speaker of the 10th Assembly. His chairman, current chairman, House Committee on Land Transport, and he's said to have sponsored the highest number of bills in the outgoing 9th Assembly, 78 bills and 7 motions, with 20 of the bills assented to by President Muhammadu Buhari. We have joining us on the program this evening, Honorable Tajudeen Abbas. He joins us live from our Abuja studio. Honorable Abbas, thank you for joining us on Sunday Politics.
Thank you, Kayode. Good evening to all our viewers.
Well, good evening to you too. I mean, we just saw what is playing out in the Senate, but we're coming to the House of Representatives now, the Green Chamber, as it is called. Your name has come up quite a lot in the past few days. So I'd like you to tell Nigerians, demystify this. Are you indeed the anointed candidate of your party and the president-elect?
Well, what I can tell you, Kayode, is each and every contestant for this post of speakership has at one time or the other visited the president-elect and also visit members of the LWC for their blessing and support. I, just like most of them, had cause to visit the president-elect last week to present myself, to introduce myself, and to also inform him of my aspiration to be the Speaker of the 10th Assembly. We had very engaging discussions with him. At the end of the day, I can tell you he was very happy with my candidature. He prayed for me and also told me that he would do everything possible to ensure that if it is Northwest, that this particular position is on, he will do his best to ensure that justice and fairness has been done to all the contestants. That's all I can tell you. Since the announcement has not been made as to who is the candidate of the party, I'm sure that question will be squarely and better answered by the party chairman and the NWC, which hopefully by next week, we are told, they will sit and deliberate and come up with the final decision.
Right. I'm sure you've seen those reports making the rounds. I mean, some of them breaking news, putting your name, your picture as that anointed one. In fact, a lot of people thought it is done and dusted. So you're saying to us now that that is not the case?
Well, I am not saying that it is not the case. What I'm saying is that there is no any official pronouncement from the party who have the exclusive right to announce who the speakership of candidate of the 10th Assembly is. So it's not for me to say this is the man that has been endorsed. We are waiting for the NWC after their meeting tomorrow, hopefully, to come up with the name of the candidate both for the Senate and for the House of Reps.
Right. I mean, a lot of Nigerians will want to know how these things work, because you represent a lot of people too from Kaduna State, and a lot of Nigerians will want to understand exactly what factors came to play as such that the president-elect offered you prayers and offered you his support. What do you think he found special about you?
Well, I want to believe, first and foremost, he is impressed with my legislative contributions. I have told him I've been in the National Assembly since 2011, and I've been there now for almost 12 years back to back. And I've contributed in sponsoring a lot of bills, out of which in the 8th Assembly, I sponsored 43 bills, which gave me the #1 ranking in terms of those who sponsored bills. And in the 9th Assembly, I had the singular honor of sponsoring 74 bills. And out of them, 21 have been assented by Mr. President, and they are now laws in the country. And beside that, I went again to tell him where I come from, my academic background, that I was a teacher in primary school. I was head of accounting department of a polytechnic in 1989 to 1993. I was also a head of banking and finance of a polytechnic again between 2003 to 2005. I was the founding head of accounting department of Kaduna State University. I told him my private sector experience, that I was a marketing manager with Nigerian Tobacco Company, which is now called British American Tobacco. And I told him my journey there up to the time when I became a general manager of a subsidiary company before I resigned and went back to the classroom in 2001. He is impressed with the credentials, the places that I have worked, particularly in the public and the private sector, and also my modest contributions in the National Assembly. I'm sure whatever makes him to say he is happy with me is probably because of those experiences, the qualifications that I've had.
Well, I just want to know, how are you sure that this is not the case for other candidates who have visited him as well? Are you sure that he has not also offer them prayers and their support as he has for you?
I believe he has done so, because I know him as a party man. He will not come out outrightly to say he is not supportive of anyone. I'm sure what he will tell each and every contestant that visits him is that he is praying for them, he's praying for the country. Let the country choose the best among the contestants, and let us all be good party men to wait for zoning and to wait for whoever the party should decide at the end of the day to be the candidate for the National Assembly. I believe that should be the line that he has done for each and every contestant that is going to visit him.
We take a listen to one of your colleagues speaking to this particular issue. But just to be clear, is this like a joint ticket with you and Honorable Ben Kalu? Honorable Abbas, if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, I'm not aware. All I know is that the zoning formula has not been officially released. We don't know, as we are talking, whether the party has conclusively decided that the ticket is going to the Northwest and the deputy speaker is going to the Southeast. But we assume if that is the case, perhaps if Ben Carlo has come out to talk, maybe he has his own sources. But for me, I am not in the position to actually confirm whether that position has actually been ceded to the Southeast and to him in particular.
I understand that you're trying to keep some of these issues hush-hush and not reveal too much. To be fair, I mean, it's not Nigerians that will vote on the floor of the House that day. It will be representatives. So Nigerians can only do little, really. Maybe they can impress upon their representatives, but at the end of the day, the responsibility lies with the representatives. But let's take a look at the balance of power, Honorable Abbas, because you've talked about the zoning formula. Let's take a look at what we have so far with the president-elect and the vice president-elect. So as it stands today, the president-elect is from the southwest region of the country, right? The vice president-elect is from the northeast region. Well, it's not clear what your party will do with the south-south, or rather with the Senate presidency, even though some say it will go to the south-south. Of course, we've heard other senators saying that should not be the case. But if the House of Representatives, the speakership, were to go your way, it will be going to the northwest. Looking at the way that will look, do you think that will unite Nigerians, really? Do you think that will rally Nigerians to think, okay, at least the regions are represented?
Well, what I can tell you, Kayode, is that every administration comes with its own challenges and considerations. Some of the factors that the party will take at the end of the day to determine what should go to where relies heavily on the party. There are considerations, there are peculiarities that we may not all know. But what I am sure of is that the president-elect and the party will come up with an acceptable zoning that will be in the mutual interests of each and every Nigerian. What I would want us to do is to wait until when the zoning comes out. I'm sure it will come with a lot of justification from the party why it has done what it has done. And from there, we'll be able to know the underlying considerations that made the party to zone those political positions to wherever. Until then, we'll just be talking about speculation.
Right.
I
but
believe
speak for
sincerely that... okay,
you can land on that point, please.
Sincerely, I believe at the end of the exercise, every zone, all the 6 geopolitical zones will have something to take home. That I can assure you. I know the party will not abandon any region, any zone, for whatever reason.
You've made a case for yourself personally, based on your pedigree. You've talked about what you told the president-elect, about your experience, the bills you have passed. I mean, we'll come to some of that in a moment. But speak for your region, the Northwest. Why do you think the Northwest deserves the speakership position?
Yeah, for 2 or 3 reasons. One, the Northwest region has 7 states, and in the last election, we gave Mr. President more than 2.7 million votes. And in every presidential election, even before now, the region or the zone that gives the highest vote is almost always the Northwest. Secondly, the Northwest has 92 members out of 360, which is almost 26% of the entire members of the House of Reps. That is one thing that's another factor that needs to be considered. And thirdly, if the president comes from the Southwest and the vice president comes from the Northeast, if not because of that peculiarity of a Muslim ticket, I am sure, based on the contribution of the Northwest, the Senate president would have been what we will ideally ask for. But because of the peculiarity of our country and the need to balance, particularly religious and tribal considerations, we believe that the Senate president should go to the South. And then the Speaker of the House of Representatives should come to the Northwest. Other regions, zones like the North Central, where already they have a chairman, we believe that even if it is stopped at that, at least they have gotten something to take home. North Central, they already have the chairman, and the zones that have to be considered are the Northwest, the South-South, and the Southeast. So if you look at the contribution of all those zones, you will agree with me that the Northwest qualifies more than any other zone to be given the number of opposition.
You know, it's interesting that, you know, the Muslim ticket dynamic has come in yet again. Lots of considerations, yes. But some said, well, since it was jettisoned for the president and vice president-elect, I mean, what's the point of still trying to maintain that? In any case, they say if you want to maintain balance, then the Senate presidency and the speakership should go Christian-Christian. So if it's balance you want, it can go that way. Do you agree?
Well, what I believe is that the Senate, if we go back to even the zoning of the 1999 when PDP was in power, you can recall that we have almost the same peculiarity except for the fact that the president then was a Christian. The Northeast had the vice president. The Senate president went to the Southeast. The deputy speakership went to the South-South. The Northwest was given the speakership. So if you look at the dynamics then, it was only expedient if you look at the contribution that the party in power then gave from each of these zones, that the justification to give the Senate presidency to the Southeast was very cogent. I think this time around there are other considerations. Whereas we have a Muslim with a Southwest person being the president and being a Muslim, and the Northeast a Muslim, we need to also look at the other issues, the bigger picture concerning the result of the presidential election and where all the votes are coming from. Because anyone who tries to ignore the contributions of each of these zones to the presidential election will also not be fair to those zones. So I'm sure whatever decision the party will take and the president-elect, they will look at what the PDP did in 1999 vis-a-vis the peculiarities that we have today of having a Southwest Muslim and a Northeast Muslim as president and vice president, and the contribution of each of these zones in the last election. I'm sure those will be the underlying considerations the party and the president-elect will use to determine what goes to where.
Well, maybe you didn't mention it, but where is the place of healing this nation, which has, I mean, the elections have divided the country across ethnic lines, across religious lines, across party lines, but particularly the religious and ethnic lines. So how really, because you didn't mention it, healing a nation like Nigeria, how would your emergence heal this nation? That's what a lot of people are asking and hoping to hear your party speak to particularly.
I can tell you, Kayode, of all the people I met, all the 360 members of the National Assembly, I have not heard of anyone who says taking the speakership to the Northwest will be an injustice to any zone. Everyone unanimously believes that Northwest is the rightful place for the speakership.
Okay.
While I can tell you that people will be very uncomfortable if they hear that the Senate presidency is taken to the Northwest, for obvious reasons. We have mentioned the Muslim ticket of the president and the vice president. Nobody will take it lightly with this government if the number 3 position is ceded to a Muslim from the Northwest. But I can assure you, the Northwest is one zone that most stakeholders, if not all, will tell you that producing a speaker from there is not a bad idea.
Well, some have looked at the composition of the House of Reps, the 10th, particularly the 10th Assembly, and I mean, the dynamics are very interesting. There's a group calling itself the Greater Majority. I'm sure you've heard of them. But when you said you spoke to all of them and those issues weren't quite raised, I'd like you to listen to Honorable Gagdi, who's also in the running, what he said. By the way, he had other reps-elects with him. So let's listen in and continue this conversation.
Well,
okay, if we could just pull up Honorable Gagdi. Just a minute, Honorable Abbas. I'd like you to listen to what Honorable Gagdi said just yesterday, and then I'd like you to respond to Honorable Gagdi. Take a listen to Honorable Gagdi.
I urge our president-elect, who is a talent hunter, who is a Democrat, to support the party to zone the speakership to the north. And in the same spirit of justice, equity, and fairness that was shown in the presidential election of 2023, let it be zoned to the north, and let the North Central that have never produced speaker from 1999 till date be given that privilege of justice, equity, and fairness to produce speaker. I am not converging for supporters, lobbyists. That is why I hardly lobby the way other people lobby. I want you, the members elect, to endorse me and to see prospect in me as your Speaker of the 10th Assembly. But
so there's another, runner for the position. And, well, he says North Central. So is it that you didn't dialogue with him and other reps that are present or were present at that event?
Well, what I can tell you is that at this hour, since the party has not zoned to any particular area, every member from whatever zone he is coming from is entitled to come out and aspire. But at the end of the day, the party and the president-elect will look at all the underlying considerations that need to be taken to be able to determine where each of these positions should be taken. But I want to say categorically clear that what Honorable Gagdi said, one of the things he said is that the party should be just and fair and equitable to everyone. Now, I take him back to this issue. The present chairman of the party is from North Central. Where is the equity and fairness if the position of speaker is also taken to the North Central? Is there fairness and equity there? Should we have a chairman of the party from North Central, from Nasarawa, which was carved out of Plateau? He is from Plateau. And then the number 4 position is also ceded to the same state or to the same zone. Well, I do not think that is fairness, that is equity.
Let's wind down on this point. Some people have said that you will not hold the executive accountable. In fact, they think you might be weak and become a rubber stamp. What do you have to say to that?
What makes them think that I'm weak? The fact that you don't come out to insult anybody, the fact that you are a team player, you play along with everyone, you live along with everyone in the house, you don't have enemies, you have only friends. the fact that you contribute more than any other member in the 9th Assembly, you are qualified based on public and private sector experience. Does that make me weak? Look, what people need to understand is to go and look at the pedigree and the antecedents of each and every member. The issue of being rubber stamp is neither here nor there. If you recall in 2019, was it not the president-elect then, Muhammad Buhari, that pushed for Femi and the Senate President Lawal to become the candidates of the party? Are we saying today, after almost 4 years, that those people were the rubber stamps of
but,
the executive?
I mean,
No.
can you look
the National Assembly is a very complex.
Can you look the president-elect in the face and tell him that, well, I don't think this policy is right. I don't think this will sit down well with Nigerians. Can you really do that? That's the question. Can you look him in the face and tell him the truth, the hard truth?
Kayode, I want you to know that I have come from an academic institution. And not only that, I have taught in academic institutions in the past, tertiary institutions. I want you to know that any product that comes and he happens to be a leader there is capable of challenging anybody. At my age, with my pedigree, believe me, there is no way I can compromise on my own principles. There is no way I will allow anyone to compromise the independence of the legislature.
All right.
What I want to tell you is that any responsible speaker would want to see a harmonious relationship with the executive, because living together with a mutual interest will not lead to anything other than progress and prosperity for the country.
Well, Honorable Abbas,
go back and look at the antecedents of.
I think that's a great place to leave it because of time. But clearly, this is an ongoing conversation. The party is meeting. We'll wait to see the outcome of that. Some have described you as the anointed candidate. So we'll see how that plays out. But we'd like to thank you so much, Honorable Tajudeen Abbas, who is running for Speaker of the 10th Assembly. Thank you once again for your time and wish you the very best.